Good morning. I have with me this morning Mr. Bascom Eubanks, and he is a very special guest with us this morning because he is a veteran of World War I. Mr. Eubanks is a Shelby County boy, and he lined up with, it seemed like 30 or 40 young men on the courthouse square in 1917 and marched off to this glorious war across the big waters. And I wanted to ask Mr. Eubanks a few questions about the war and maybe give our viewers a chance to get a glimpse of something they may never again get a chance to see from a local resident. Mr. Eubanks, thank you for being on the show with us this morning. First of all, I've got to ask you this question. How old are you? How old are you?
I didn't get that last.
How old are you?
Oh, you took hold of me?
How old are you? What's your age? What year were you born?
Do you know what it's saying, sweetheart?
Yeah.
You can help us.
You want me to stand back?
That'd be fine. Come on in if you want to.
There's some words I can understand and some I can't.
This is Mrs. Eubanks, and she is going to help us with interpretation here a little bit. Mr. Eubanks' hearing is not quite as good as it once was. Ms. Eubanks, how old is Mr. Eubanks?
He's 98. He will be 99 the 3rd day of September.
Well, now, it's an interesting story about how his hearing was impaired. Can you get him to tell us that story?
I got 2 or 3 months to go to
I think,
talk.
wait, I think I better tell you, he was leading a convoy down in the valley, and the big French guns were on the mountain, and they had orders to cease fire while this convoy went through. And they didn't, and they shot this big gun, and it knocked him off of his truck. And that's why his hearing is impaired.
So he's had hearing trouble ever since then?
Yes.
Since the war?
Yes.
Well, now, when he joined the Army, did the government have selective service? Did they ask the young men to sign up, or did everybody come in the Army just by volunteering?
It was a draft. 21 to 31, they drafted them.
Age 21 to 31?
Uh-huh.
How old was Mr. Eubanks when he went in?
I think he was 30.
28.
28 years old? Well, you were not a young man then. You were full grown. Now you went from here to San Antonio.
Yeah.
And that was camp.
I was in the short order training in San Antonio. Then I went to another Camp Mill, Long Island. And from there to the boat. And from the boat to Liverpool, England. Then it started.
That's when it started. Well, now the war had been going maybe 3 years when you got there.
Yeah.
And they had you driving a truck. Was that your job? Driving a truck?
You drove a truck.
Mm-hmm.
You drove the lead truck.
What kind of materials did he haul in his truck? Was it
18-inch shells to the front.
Well, now, Ms. Eubanks, one thing that's always been curious to me.
There's some things I never have understood, you know, in English or anything else.
I'll let him talk.
That's all right.
Since the war, because I haven't got the power to reach whatever it is. See, that heavy artillery and such as that exploding all around, you know, and just keep your ears strained to the very last until they go out.
Mm-hmm.
And mine was going down fast when the war was over.
Did you ever see any of the long trenches that the men dug trenches to stay in? There's somebody called them long graves. They said these trenches were, these men had dug their own graves. I guess they were talking about the gas,
Y'all ever see that?
the gas that had come into the...
You see, every man was equipped with a gas mask
over his face.
over his face, and they had to breathe through their mouth. And when they ran in, they could smell this gas, and when they ran into this gas, they put on their gas mask.
Well, it must have been a horrible thing to smell that gas.
It was for the men.
They also tell me that the most horrible killer was the machine gun.
It's pretty hard matter to remember a lot of stuff that happened way back there about something you didn't care anything about no time. I don't want out of it.
Was he ever gassed?
Oh yes, one of his lungs is almost gone.
That gas mask must not have worked too good then.
Well, they couldn't get it on fast enough. You see, they would run into this gas, and they had to take time to get this gas mask on. It was hanging around their necks.
Now, it's terrible to have to ask this question, and I apologize to the viewers if I'm insulting your intelligence, but who was the enemy in World War I?
Germany.
Well, now it seemed like that the leader of Germany was a fellow named Kaiser Bill.
Yes.
Tell me that little jingle that y'all used to sing as children.
Kaiser Bill went up the hill to take a peep at France. Kaiser Bill came down the hill with bullets in his pants.
Well, I guess the country could unite against Kaiser Bill under a song like that. That just gets you all stirred up. The war was over shortly after the United States got in, and everybody came home, I guess.
They entered in 1917, and it was over in 1918. Now, Mr. Eubanks was in the occupation army, and he didn't get home until June of 1918.
Oh, they must have stayed in Germany.
Yeah, I stayed there 9 months after the war.
Was it in Germany or?
Just a traveling all over the country. I was a truck driver. After the war, cut us all back some, you see. And cut me back to first class private. That meant that I had to do any kind of work that come to me.
Was the food any good?
Mm-hmm.
Did y'all eat good?
Feed good when you could get it. If you happen to stop at a kitchen, infantry, artillery, or whatever it was, if you happened to be there at mealtime, all you had to get out and do is to get out and go to the mess sergeant, show him your little card, you see, and you were fed. They had orders to feed all truck drivers, car drivers, and such as that couldn't be at their own kitchen. And we fared that way pretty good.
Well, I'm sure it wasn't very pleasant.
Now, they were quartered in Germans' homes. They would go into a town, and go to each house and find out how many bedrooms they had, and they would take all of them they wanted.
The main trouble was finding a place to sleep. Sleep on that truck most of the time.
Was there any mud? Was it muddy over there?
The seats on them were full wide, but the lights about 4 or 5 inches of being long enough for me. You know, I was 6 feet. And I'd stick my feet out and wrap up in there.
Ask him about the snow and them crossing the rivers that was
In the winter time, in the snow.
And we left Southampton, England. After getting off the boat, we stayed there about 8 or 9 days. Before they could get a boat, you know, to cross the channel. Well, we did, in crossing the channel, we went about 40 miles, you know, way up this side of England, up here to where the channel might near enter, and then crossed over into France, you see. We couldn't cross down here on account of torpedo submarines, you know, that whole mess was just planted full of exploding.
Well, were there any Shelby County boys that were killed in the war?
We went way off up there and went across to Le Havre, France. And it was just as clean as that yard of any military stuff. And it was one of the oldest camps in France. But it had been whipped and beaten back so much until they didn't occupy it anymore.
Or you were in 3 battles in France.
We got the division all over there on this little strip. That's when we was classed out, you know, where you belong. And the next thing was look down that rifle barrel. We stayed there till the artillery began to reach us. And you couldn't stay bunched up. One shell drop out there in that yard and kill maybe 40 or 50 people if they're close enough together.
Did they have y'all digging trenches in the ground?
Mm-hmm.
Did you have to live in the trench? Well, that gas, as I understand it, would come in and settle in those trenches, which is
And in the valleys.
in the valleys, low places.
See, that was a mountainous country, a lot of it.
You know, one thing people have not generally known, was one of the biggest makers of gas in the World War I was the United States. They set up a gas arsenal in New Jersey, and it was producing hundreds of thousands of gas bombs per month by the end of the war. And so Germany wasn't the only one making gas, and of course we never told that story here in the United States till years and years afterwards. But it was a terrible thing. I'm glad that gas warfare is outlawed now.
But they are using it in
Other places?
now, yeah, they have.
Well, Mr. Eubanks did serve in World War I. He did drive a truck, and he did get to eat sometimes when they could catch up with the mess tent. He earned a medal for the 3 battles he was in, and each of the battles is listed on his medal. And I really wish I could pronounce the names of those towns, Ms. Eubanks, but
Musargon,
Musargon,
St. Mihiel,
uh-huh,
and Argon, Oregon.
Oregon, all in France.
That was the 3 fronts.
So you can't remember everything like that in all places and where the battlefields was. It's hard, to keep up with.
Well, that's true. But we want to thank you very much for sharing that with us, and I hope that we'll come back next year when you're 99 and we'll do this over again, and you can tell us some new things. Thank you again for your time, and I appreciate it very much.